So good morning. Friday. I'm going to do a standing practice focusing on the inversions, which just mean that our head is below the heart and the line of energy moves in the other direction. So we'll be playing a little bit more with some inversions today than we did on Monday. A little bit of less of a class on the standing poses actually, but we will do several standing poses. So let's start just getting centered, arriving. Take a moment to find your non-dominant cross-legged position, elevate the sitting bones, adjust the shoulders back, adjust the skull. And pressing down through the fingertips, try to elongate the sides of the trunk. Lengthen all the way up the spine, out through the top of the head. Meanwhile, keeping the legs really heavy, the groins and hips really surrendered. And then maintaining as much of that as you can. Join your hands together in front of your heart. Closing your eyes and looking away from the brain. Paying attention to your breath. Bringing kind of a global sense of awareness throughout the body, detecting sensation. Try to bring a softness to your face, softness to the abdomen. Surrender the jaw. Just imagine your sitting bones rooting down beneath you, 10 feet into the floor. Giving the spine an extra sense of lightness. Maintaining the lift and spread of your chest, bowing toward your heart. Release your hands. When you're ready, lift your head, let your eyes gently open. And welcome. We're going to begin in hero pose. We're going to work with a strap for the arms. So you'll need everything that you use to sit in Virasana. So maybe a block under the sitting bones, maybe a blanket under the legs, and then also your strap for your arms. So just take a moment to set that up. Remember that we want to have the knees together. We want to see the four corners of the knees really pointing straight ahead. We don't want any rotation of the knees. So you might need to adjust the flesh of your legs to make that so. And then also the feet should be pointing straight back. Sometimes you need support under the ankles. So just pay attention. If you're in pain, you have to find a way to support your body because pain will not allow you to make any progress, and pain is not good. So we don't work with pain. You might need to sandwich a blanket between your calf muscles and your thighs to support your knees. If your knees are really uncomfortable, you might need a lot of height between your buttocks and your heels. So just pay attention to finding a sustainable pose that you can hold for a few minutes. And of course, the sitting bones should be touching down either to the floor, to the block, or something else. You're going to make a strap loop that kind of gives your arms a parallel position when you put the wrists inside that loop. If you have any shoulder issues, you might need to make your loop a lot bigger to allow the wrist to be broad. That can help the shoulders. You might even need to go into a 90-degree elbow position. So you have to do those things. Again, we don't work with pain. So once you have your loop, we're going to take the arms up, ideally fully extended elbows. Ideally, the arms are pretty parallel. And as the arms go up, you might have sensed that your sitting bones lifted with the arms. So resist the sitting bones back down, create some support. Try to think about the outer shins rolling down. And when we invert, we really have to pay attention to the arms keeping a sense of length to the torso, to the sides of the trunk. And the arms are really extensions of the sides of the trunk. And as you extend up through the fingertips, drive the shoulders back into the trunk. Don't let the shoulders move into the ears. When we invert, we tend to round out the upper back. So as you move your arms slightly back, notice how that supports the shoulder blades moving in toward the chest, which is a good way to keep integrity along the spine and the back body. And just make sure you didn't, in moving the arms back, you didn't push your head forward. So sometimes we have to really keep track of those sneaky little habits in the body. And it's normal for the arms to be getting tired here. So just a few more breaths. Keep taking the tailbone into the body, shins down, small toes down, sitting bones down. Relax your temples. There's a lot of upward moving energy here. So keeping a softness to the face, to the gaze. And now go ahead and relax your arms down. Wonderful. You can put your strap aside and we will come into downward dog. So just go ahead and move everything off your mat. And then you can find your way to hands and knees. And when you're ready, taking the toes under and exhale, extend your legs. Keep your heels really high and go back to those arms. Find that same sensation you just awoke in the Urdhva Hastasana, Virasana that you were just in. Draw the hips away from the wrists. The fingertips that were just reaching up into the sky are now rooting down into the floor. And remember how we took the arms back to move the shoulder blades in? So we can't move the arms here, but you can take your shoulder blades toward your chest, which brings your head more forward, which brings your chest more forward. You're recreating that same effect. You're going to pause and take a break in child's pose. So place the knees. Make the knees nice and wide so your torso can come pass through the space of the knees. Sit back as far as you can. If your arms need a rest, feel free to bend the elbows and prop the forehead on the forearms. Otherwise, keep your arms extended. Soothing the nervous system, taking the spine into a single curve. Pointing the tip of the tailbone toward the floor. Broadening the back body with every breath in. So we're going to come back to downward dog in a moment. We're going to be taking Ekapada Adho Mukha Svanasana, meaning we're going to raise one leg at a time. The legs will be the upward moving line of energy. The arms will be rooting down into the floor. So we'll experience a little inversion here. Downward dog, by the way, is also an inversion, but we're just going to kind of build onto it by raising one leg at a time. So as you're ready, just go back to your table pose. Take the toes underneath again. Exhale, extend your legs. Just coming into downward dog for a couple breaths. Try to really extend the knees. Try to roll the inner knees back. Again, move the shoulder blades in. Lifting the hips away from the wrists. And on an exhalation, without rotating your hips, raising the right leg. Try to move the leg into line with the torso so that you're really extending from the wrists all the way up through the right heel, lengthening, lengthening, lengthening. You guys look great. I don't see any rotated pelvises, so that's wonderful. Go ahead and touch down with the right toes. Again, on an exhale, take the left leg up, reaching as if someone's holding the ankle and gently pulling. Try to keep right leg extended, don't let the knee bend. Lengthen, 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 and go ahead and touch down. And now walking tiptoe the feet toward the wrists. Just take a moment here, ragdoll. You can catch your elbows in your palms and take that weight away from the floor. Just make yourself a little heavier. Let your head dangle. You might have to put a bend in your knees. Try to tap into this kind of cascading energy of your torso, the spine decompressing, the head supporting that decompression. Maybe start to float gently from side to side, just to kind of wake up the legs more individually. Just kind of swinging your arms gently from side to side, transferring weight across the feet. Okay, come back to center, drop your arms and bring yourself all the way up. And just stepping into mountain pose. Joining the legs and feet if you can. Shoulders in line with hips. Tailbone moving in, shoulder blades moving in. Buttocks moving forward, thighs moving back, skull right above the spine. Closing the eyes and just taking your attention down to the feet. And putting 10 feet of roots under the feet into the floor. So when we invert, also when we stand, but we're very used to standing. We're not as used to being upside down. So we really have to remember our lines of energy when we invert. Otherwise we destabilize, we really feel oppressed by gravity. So plant the roots under the feet, lengthen through the crown of the head. Become longer in your body, like you're growing 2 inches. Keep the shoulders anchored toward the floor, fingertips heavy, but somehow keeping a sense of spaciousness rising from the hips to the armpits. Okay, so keep that, blink the eyes open. Find your strap again, put it around the wrists again. We are about to attempt to do handstand, and you don't have to attempt it. You can come back to the pose we're going to do right now. But if you are going to attempt handstand, we're basically doing the inversion of the inversion. So Adho Mukha Vrikshasana, which is handstand, is basically your mountain pose with Urdhva Hastasana arms, which we're going to do here. So bringing your arms into that loop that's already the right size for you. I understand. I can see my hands are cut off in the image, but I'm sure you can figure out they're right above the shoulders. So extend up through the fingertips. The difference in the inversion is, of course, that your palms are against the floor. So there's flexion in the wrists. But reach up through the fingertips here. Keep the shoulders engaging into the torso. Lengthen from the hips all the way up to the armpits. When you're inverted, you're going to be drawing your hips away from the armpits. So lines of energy move in the other direction. But we can train the body with lines of energy, even though we have to reverse the lines of energy when we're inverting. We'll plant the feet, lift through the fingertips, keep the shoulders engaged, move the arms any amount back without your head pushing forward. Maintain the integrity of the Tadasana pose. Okay, so 2 things you want to watch out for when you do invert: the rounding of the upper back, which the arm position will help you with here, and also the hyperextension of the lumbar spine. You're going to get very curvy down there if you don't watch out. So before we invert, navel comes back toward the spine and flatten out. If you feel really curvy in your lumbar spine, Try to flatten out, move the navel in toward the spine. We're more stable when the front body and the back body are more equalized. Okay, go ahead and release your arms down. So if you're coming back to this position, you can do the very same thing, just working on the refinement of the arms moving back and all those kind of wise actions that we go through in that pose. If you're going to attempt full arm balance, you need a wall because you just do. Everybody needs a wall. So you're gonna find a wall space and you can just watch for a moment. You'll place your hands near the wall. We all have a dominant leg that we kick up with. So you'll be kind of prepping by lifting and lowering that leg. And then at some point, you'll spring up and you'll lift your legs toward the ceiling. You'll plant your hands like they're your new feet. And you'll see about holding, okay? So I just want you to give it a shot if you have the gumption. And if you're doing the repeat of Tadasana with your Urdhva Hastasana arms, you're just going to imagine, because all things start in the imagination. You're going to imagine that you are inverted against that wall. Your legs are the new arms. You're lengthening the legs into the floor. You're reaching the hands into the ceiling, which would be the floor. You're just going to imagine it. Okay, so once again, go ahead and find your way to either pose. Kick up if you're going up to the wall. Watch that the lumbar spine doesn't get all curvy. Keep the navel in, move the shoulder blades in. Lift your legs toward the ceiling. Root the hands down toward the floor. And come down. Good work. Okay, so if you did your attempts, good. Those of you that tried that, nice work. Everybody, good work. Come back to mountain pose, arms down. And just be with whatever remains. Be with the breath. Be with the energy. Be with the fatigue. Be with the sensation. So every class that I've ever been in where they teach full arm balance, it's right toward the beginning of class. Because if you did try it, you'll know that it's a high octane pose. It's energetic. It requires a lot of effort. You don't want to leave it to the end of class when you're already a little bit tired. So just know if you did it, that was kind of the pinnacle of our of our efforts today, although we're going to still be doing a lot of stuff. So we're going to come into Uttanasana. And I'm going to take a sideways view just so, because we are going to be moving one leg at a time, like Ekapada version. So I just want you to be able to see the aerial leg, but you feel free to face the camera any way that you prefer. When we do Ekapada, we do Uttanasana with the feet joined. So you're going to join your feet, use your blocks, of course. When the feet are joined, just take a peek that you're aligning well. You have second toes running with heels alignment. Go into Ardha Uttanasana, shoulders above the wrists, balancing weight over the feet, working toward your fully extended knees. Few breaths here. So I like to teach Ekapada Uttanasana, starting with Ekapada Ardha Uttanasana, where we are right now. It's a little more roomy. So big inhale here on your exhale without rotating your hips. Send the right leg back behind you. So this is not warrior three, although we start kind of in a warrior three shape. Next time you exhale, bow toward your standing left leg, raise the right leg any amount without dog at the fire hydrant, without rotating your hips. Okay, any amount. Okay, lift with that leg. Plant your one standing leg. Keep lifting, lifting, lifting. Wonderful. Inhale, come out of it, touch down with those right toes. Make sure your feet are joined again. Take an in breath here, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, raising left leg. Next, exhale, dipping the torso toward the standing leg, chest aligning with the standing leg. Be aware of the rotation that wants to happen in the hips. Try to correct for it. You have to cut the outer left hip forward, cut the outer right hip back. Dip any amount lower. Go, go, go. Deeper, deeper, deeper. Any amount. Take that aerial leg higher. The torso and the leg work like a seesaw. The leg rises, the torso dips. Inhale back out of it. Touch down. Join the feet. Firm your stomach muscles. Come up for a moment before we do Uttanasana Ekapada. So just come up a moment and be in your mountain pose. Try to be a big enough container for the breath. Effort where it's needed, effort excused from where it isn't needed. Nice. So we'll do full Uttanasana with the Ekapada. So it's just a little bit more compact. So you can go back to Ardha Uttanasana, just a big breath in once you're there. Exhale deeply into Uttanasana, bow toward both legs. Okay, so you might not need as much height under your hands. So make sure you're using what you need, but not more than you need. We don't want to baby ourselves. Nice in breath here, still in full Uttanasana. Exhale, raising the right leg. Any amount. Notice how the foot wants to sickle. So reach out through the inner edge of your right foot, the big toe ball mound, the inner heel. Roll the inner thigh up toward the ceiling. Inhale back to two legs down, Uttanasana. Exhale for a moment, just resting. Inhale, get closer to those legs. Exhale, take the left leg up. Nice. 3 breaths if you can. Good. Coming out of it. Wonderful. Squeezing those stomach muscles around the spine. Come up, come all the way up. Tadasana. Just a few moments. Drop the shoulders. Allow for the breath. Soften the face. Unhinge your jaw. And just imagine those roots out of your feet into the floor. Imagine a string attached to the top of the head, lightly pulling. Wonderful. So one thing to point out when we're standing poses, we have a lot of contact with the floor through the feet, so we have a point of reference. We can automatically make corrections based on that sensation. And when we have the aerial legs up in the sky, we don't have that feeling. So we really have to learn the feeling against the floor. And then when we're aerial, we have to remember it, which the body will do, but we have to train ourselves with standing poses first, which we're doing. Okay, so what's next? Let's see. We're going to go into Warrior 1, Warrior 3, which we did Monday, but we're going to add a piece to that today. So I recommend putting your blocks, both of them, to the right corner of your mat. And we can do the jumping out, widening the stance. Feel free to step out if you need to, if you want to. Take your hands to your hips, turning from the root of the right thigh, getting the toes to point to the right. Pivot in with the left foot, so you're squaring the hips to the short edge of the mat, and then rotate the hips so they're on that, like there's a pane of glass. Both hips are meeting equally. Okay, straighten both legs, especially the back leg. Raise the arms. Remember that strap. Try to put that feeling back in your arms. You're resisting the wrists into the strap. Your chest is lifted and spread. You're taking the arms slightly farther back. Come to the top of an inhale. And then exhale, sink the right knee above the ankle without tilting the torso. Like there's a book on your head. So take the tailbone way in to keep your torso upright. Couple breaths here. Reach up through the fingernails, but keep your shoulders really anchored into the trunk. Fully extended elbows. without disturbing what you have achieved so far. Pivot off your back heel, line it up with the toes. Okay, another in-breath, exhale, extending the trunk evenly over the right thigh. We're gonna come through warrior one. Take your hands to your blocks. Step forward with the blocks and raise the left leg. So we are taking it a step farther today. We just did Ekapada Uttanasana. So from Virabhadrasana 3, I didn't mean to say 1. Take another in-breath, exhale, draw your torso toward your standing leg, keep lifting and lengthening the aerial leg, cut the inner foot up. Remember, it likes to sickle. Go deeper, deeper, deeper. Inhale back to Virabhadrasana 3, and then see if you can touch down and find your warrior one again. Good. Inhale to straighten the right leg, pivoting the feet back to a nice wide stance, lowering the arms level with the floor. Jumper step back in, and just be in your mountain pose. Just watching the breath find its way back to a more smooth, even rhythm. We don't want to feel like our feet are just pancakes flat against the floor. So imagine those roots. Make a connection with the floor so you don't stop where the floor begins, you continue. Okay, side 2. When you're ready, blink the eyes open and we'll move the blocks to the left. And again, you can find your way to wide stance. You step out, you're going to do left foot first. Or you can jump out feet at the same time. And then move from the root of the thigh. So the center line of the thigh faces the toes. Step in with the back right foot. Level or square the hips. Compact the hips to midline as well. Straighten both legs. Take the pelvic tilt like you're drinking out of a big bowl. You're tilting it back. And then raise the arms. Take the arms back to help the shoulder blades move forward. Try to straighten out the elbows, straighten out the right knee. Inhale, come to the top of the breath, exhale, left knee above the ankle. Descend your temples. Don't let your exciting upward moving energy take you away. You need to temper it with a little bit of grounded temples, soft gaze. And then pivot off the back heel, prepping for warrior 3. Take another big in-breath. Exhale, lengthen the trunk evenly right above the left thigh. Take your blocks in your hands. Step in with the right foot on an exhale, warrior 3. There's a little teacup on your sacrum. It's not going to fall off to the left side. So roll the outer right hip down. Lift that left femur bone up into the hip socket. Now we're going to move into the Ekapada Uttanasana. In breath here, exhale, dipping the torso toward the standing leg, elevating the aerial leg even more. So equally, we want the torso and the elevated leg to have the same line. Remember the seesaw idea. And imagine someone's got hold of that right ankle. They're gently pulling. There's an upward line of energy. Last exhale on your inhale, back to that nice capital T shape, Virabhadrasana 3. And then you're going to step back into Virabhadrasana 1. Returning to that first pose. And then pushing into the floor to straighten the leg. Pivoting yourself to a wide stance, open the arms. and jump or step back in. Okay, you're back in mountain. So looking toward the cheeks without tilting the chin down. Unhinge the jaw. Lengthen from the chin up to the base of the skull to align the skull with the spine. Imagine you have 10-pound shoulder pads. Drop the shoulders. And give the feet some depth. You can use the breath to encourage these lines of energy, exhaling deeper roots, inhaling that little string through the top of the head, tightening like a guitar string. And go ahead and blink the eyes open when you're ready. We're going to come down to a seated position. We're going to work on Gomukhasana, which is a really great way to prep the arms and upper body for Shirshasana, for headstand. So you can just take a comfortable seated position. You might sit on blankets. You are going to want your strap. And if the strap is still in that loop, it's okay. You don't need to worry about it. You're just going to need a piece of fabric to grab onto for Gomukhasana. So we will, I think we're going to use it in a loop later. So it might as well just leave it in a loop. All right. So we'll take the right arm up first. Let's grab the strap. Take the right arm up first. And then revolve the arms. So you're rotating the outer arm in, the inner arm out, your palm turns back, your thumb faces out to the side. And then try to keep your elbow right above your shoulder as you bend the elbow and try to touch the area between your shoulder blades. You can push down a little bit with your free left hand to get the hand to drop down a little bit lower to the dorsal spine region. Keep it there when you let go. And then you're going to send the left arm out sideways, thumb down. Again, that internal shoulder rotation. Swing the arm and catch the strap and try to close the distance between the hands. Eventually, it won't go any farther, so you'll just hang on tightly and you'll actually start to pull apart. Don't let your hands slide, but pull apart, so resisting the hands apart. And then just bringing attention from bottom elbow to top elbow. So what really resembles the Shirshasana work is the upper arm here. So really bring a strong line of energy through the elbow. Keep your skull right above the spine so you're not misaligning the skull. Sometimes that top arm pushes the head forward. Don't let that happen. Push right back on the arm with the head if you need to. Drop your legs. If your legs are starting to move up because there's so much upward energy, drop the legs. Tap into the heaviness. And notice how if you take that right elbow tip back, it's going to move the shoulder blade into the body. So we want to preserve the indentation of the dorsal spine, and we want to also correct for the over indentation of the lumbar spine. So if you're finding a nice openness to the chest, you might have also distorted your lumbar spine. So take the navel in, curl the tailbone in, flatten out the lumbar spine. That's going to give you a lot of stability when you are inverted. If we get all saggy and wavy in the spine, then nothing, it all crumbles. Okay, so we'll switch out the arms. Go ahead and release. Just take a moment. You might need to do a little Shavasana arm, kind of extending your fingertips toward the floor, palms facing forward. You might take the hands back. Just get a nice release. And when you're ready, you can grab hold of your strap and just take it up in the left arm. And then rotating the arm. So palm faces back, thumb faces out to the side. Your hand is right on top of your shoulder. Bending the elbow, try to touch down between the shoulder blades. Use your free hand to push on that left elbow. And then try to keep or maintain what you've established. Right arm reaches out, thumb down, swinging the arm. Grab onto the strap, crawl the hands as close together as they'll go. really nice grounded right elbow, that rising left elbow, both elbow tips moving back. Shoulder blades move in, but watch the lumbar spine, watch the skull. Strong line of energy up that left arm all the way to the elbow. Keep taking elbow tip back. Nice. Go ahead and release. And put your strap aside. First, we're going to find the true crown of the head. So if you plug your ears, don't actually plug your ears, but put your thumbs over where you would plug your ears. And whatever fingers meet, because we all have different finger lengths. For me, it's my middle fingers. It should be right along the crown of the head, the true crown. It's also the highest ridge of the head, which maybe you can find another way. But if you're in a headstand, the way that someone looking at you can tell if you're on the true crown is if your ear hole stays circular. If you're not on the true crown, it becomes a little bit flattened or elliptical. So there are ways to check if someone's really on their true crown, but you should know for yourself where that is. That's where we want to be when we do headstand. Otherwise, the whole thing, we all know the story of the Tower of Pisa. So we're going to take the position upright with our hands. So what we want to do is, first of all, if you wear rings, remove them because it does kind of hurt. It pinches because you want to have a really nice tight bind. We always talk about habits in the body. We have interlocking habits, but for Shirshasana, you should use your habitual interlock of your hands. It's just more stabilizing. So go into your habitual interlock of your hands. Get tight into the finger webbing. So there's no room to close. And then you're going to go to the back of the head, because remember the true crown will be against the floor. The elbows should only be as wide as your shoulders. You can tell they want to kind of flap open. So you have to clamp the elbows. And as we know, the result of that is a broader shoulder girdle, which is more stabilizing. You're going to really have a good connection of your head fitting into your palms. So take up surface area with your head really fitting into the palms. And then go back to your Gomukhasana elbows. Remember, your elbows will be against the floor. You're going to really want to drive the elbows down into the floor. So in this case, up to the ceiling. Gomukhasana arms. Lift the elbows any amount. Notice how that takes the shoulder blades in. Okay, hopefully you feel that. If the elbows are dropping, the shoulder blades are kind of passive. If the elbows are lifting here, you can feel the shoulder blades inserting toward the chest. Okay, you feel it? Hopefully you feel it. We're going to leave this alone for a minute. Drop the arms. We're going to be coming over a tall block with the dorsal spine so that we can really feel in an exaggerated way how we want to feel in the upper back when we're inverting. So take a block. I do recommend the high block, but you can always drop it down to the medium height if it's too extreme. We won't be here very long, so it doesn't have to be sustained for that long. Your legs will be comfortable, so that probably means cross-legged or whatever is your favorite kind of passive leg position. And we're going to be working with the horizontal tallest block you can manage, and it's going to hit the area between the shoulder blades. So I usually take my thumbs and hold that block in place as I recline back. And you want to kind of target that area right behind the shoulder blades. And then your head is free. So don't worry about your head dangling. We're going to reach the arms overhead and use the weight of the arms to help open the chest. Let your head just dangle. Try to extend your elbows, straighten the elbows. Okay, remember the lower back gets all wavy, so taking the tailbone into the body, lengthen out the lumbar spine. We can do both. We can have our cake and eat it too. We can have an open chest and a really controlled, equalized lumbar torso area. Okay, so we want to really imprint this because when we get upside down, that part is going to be very vulnerable. So you can come out of it, you can take your hands to the floor, keep your chest more forward than it wants to be, bring yourself upright, good. Whew, good work. Okay, so building blocks. We're doing a lot of building blocks. And don't worry, if you don't want to do headstand today, you don't have to do a headstand. These are all just ways you can prepare your body without ever doing the full inversion. So we did dolphin pose on Monday. We're going to repeat it because it is a good kind of training for these wise actions we're talking about. So dolphin pose has the forearms down and the elbows under the shoulder. So it's like a downward dog on your forearms. By the way, not a classical pose. It's one of these new age poses. I don't know if there's even dolphins in India, but I don't know. Okay, so forearms down in line with your shoulders. Anchor into your thumbs. Sense how the thumbs and index are kind of just not activated. So activate them. Try to bring equal weight. Remember, your hands are becoming your new feet. So finding the Tadasana feet in your hands. Curl the toes under. Exhale, extend your legs. And then tiptoe in. Tiptoe in just a little closer. Okay, try to bring that action to the dorsal spine where the shoulder blades in. Lift your hips away from the shoulder line. Good, go ahead and rest. We are going to do it again with an ekapada, raising the legs individually. So just take a few moments here to rest, maybe 30 seconds in the child's pose. And then feel free to come back to preparing for the dolphin pose. Of course, if you aren't ready, take your time. When you're ready, curl the toes under, extend the legs, creeping in. Exhale, you're going to raise the right leg. Lifting that leg. It should give you a little power because it's an upward line. Lift, lift, lift. Touch down. Exhale, extend the left leg. Nice work, touch down. And again, child's pose, rest. So when we're in inversions, there's a kind of like a ticking time bomb because we can only hold ourselves for so long. So that's why it's important to know the wise actions ahead of time and not try to figure them out when you have only a limited amount of time to work with because you will get tired. That's why those building blocks are so important. Just another half a minute or so here. So I'm not planning on doing full headstand today, but I am going to teach headstand preparation with our heads against the floor, the crown. The hand position we just worked with, and ekapada, raising one leg at a time. So for that, the head can get a little uncomfortable because it's down on the floor. So what I usually do when I'm working with headstand is I fold my mat to 2-ply, sometimes even putting a blanket between that, depending on how long I'm going to hold the pose. But because today we're just doing a short kind of introduction, just double up your mat should suffice. So it's just like dolphin to prepare, except we're going to bind our hands, our habitual interlock. You'll notice that your wrists rotate here if you take a peek at your wrists. So put the inner wrist right on top of the outer wrist. Don't let the inner wrist flop out wider. You need to have stability. So inner wrists and outer wrists are stacked. The pinky that's kind of wobbling around on the bottom of that interlocking hand set, tuck it into the palms. So you have more of a connection with the floor. And then fit your head inside the palms. So you remember that good contact, like snuggle your head into the palms, find your true crown against the floor. Remember those inner wrists like to fall, so keep them pulled in toward the head, and then curl the toes under and walk in. And then try raising a leg, just on your own cueing. Test out each side. And then touch down. And you're gonna rest. So I went through that really quickly. We are gonna do it twice, but take your time with it if you need to have more time. I went through it quite quickly. But take a moment here in child's pose, either resting your forehead on your arms or on your fists. Become as passive as you can be. Okay, let's try it one more time. Remember how the elbows want to be wide, so you're going to kind of contain them to be more consistent with the shoulder line. Don't let them be wider than that. Find your interlock, tuck that bottom loose pinky up inside the palms, arrange the wrists so they're stacking, open the surface area of the palms and fit as much of the surface area of your head as you can into that space. Curl the toes underneath, extend the legs, tiptoe in, and then raise the legs individually. Once you've tried both sides, then straight legs. Dusty, straight leg. There. Once you've tried both sides, come back to resting. And when you've had a sufficient amount of time in child's pose, you can unfold your mat. And we're going to come into one more inversion on our backs. So Chatushpadasana with Ekapada, meaning we're going to do kind of a bridge pose, raising one leg at a time. So that strap that you have the loop in, we're going to use that again. And then one block. And you're going to attempt to come onto your block at its highest level and the block running consistently with the spine. So not crossing the spine. We're going to work with the vertical block so that we cover more of the extension of the spine rather than the broad sacrum. If you can't do the tallest level, go to the medium level. And once you've propped the sacrum tailbone with your spine-wise block, you're going to find the strap and fit it back around the wrists with your palms up. And the idea here with the strap is if we can resist our wrists into the strap, it's going to encourage the outer upper arms to roll down and the shoulder blades to insert toward the chest. So upper body is becoming the foundation. Head, shoulder girdle. Go ahead on an exhale, draw the right leg in so that the knee comes above the hip line. And then extend the right leg up And just reach the foot toward the ceiling as you continue to press down into your arms, shoulder girdle, head, back of the neck. So creating lines of energy, upper body moving into the earth, your right leg reaching skyward without actually lifting or rotating the pelvis. When we work the lines of energy, you should feel more freedom in the pose, more expression. It kind of brings the pose from a 2D to kind of a 3D experience. Go ahead and step down with that foot. Make sure you still have the good externally rotated shoulders. Your thumbs are pressing into the floor. They're not floating. On an exhale, draw the left thigh bone so it's vertical, and then extend the leg. And keeping good weight of the sacrum, the left sacrum against the block, reach up through the foot, especially the big toe, especially the inner heel. Keep pressing down through your right foot, your hands, your arms, your head, your shoulders. Just work those lines of energy. A couple breaths, soften your face. Wonderful. Bend the knee and step down. Take your arms out of the loop. Take your hips high enough, you can take the block away. And once your mat is clear, you're gonna hug your legs in. Just take a moment in reclining child's pose, tilting the chin toward the chest. Step your left foot down, cross your right leg over your left leg, and swing the arms out to each side, preparing for supine twist. Shift onto your left hip and let your legs fall to the left. Use your left hand to hold the legs. Turn your right palm to face up and roll your head as much as you can to the right. Start to ease yourself back to center on your back. Uncross your legs. Take a moment to arrange your body on the floor as evenly and spaciously as you can. And then sweeping the arms out wide again, cross the left leg over the right. Slide your right hip to the center of the mat. Stack your left hip above it. Use your right hand to hold the legs in place. Give them a sense of arriving. They can be passive. Turn the left palm to face up. And try to look to the left as much as you can. And you'll get more out of this the more passive you can be now that you've set it up. Let the legs shift as they settle, let them shift. You don't have to hold them in any stiff position. Try to breathe some space along the exposed left side body, between the knee and the hip and the shoulder. It's just determining when it's time to come back to center. Determining any other movements your body is requesting before we come into Shavasana. And then gently, without jarring your body or your brain, finding what you need for Shavasana. 5-minute Shavasana today. Once you're lying down, make those small adjustments so that you feel really quiet in the body. Nothing is nagging. Body begins to settle. Taking your soft eyes, closing them, looking toward your cheeks. Releasing any tension from the face. Feeling the weight of the limbs against the floor. With every exhale, letting the belly sink gently toward the back body, toward the floor. With the practice, we've brought spaciousness into the physical body. And we start to see it here playing out in the mind. Here we can have space from the experience of living in a body. Space from having to identify with every single thought that passes through the mind. We can be more objective. Poem by Mary Oliver. Lines written in the days of growing darkness. Every year we have been witness to it, how the world descends into a rich mass in order that it may resume. And therefore, who would cry out to the petals on the ground to stay, knowing as we must how the vivacity of what was is married to the vitality of what will be. I don't say it's easy, but what else will do if the love one claims to have for the world be true? So let us go on, cheerfully enough, this and every crisping day. Though the sun be swinging east, and the ponds be cold and black, and the sweets of the year be doomed. Just witnessing a few more passing breaths. Slowly drawing yourself out of the pose with some deeper breaths and some gentle movement. Finding your way to side lying. And from there, finding your way to seated. And once you're seated, just take a few more moments to join the hands together in front of the heart. To invite a sense of gratitude into your heart. From the place within me that I know to be divine, and honor that place within each of you. Namaste. Right, well, thank you all for being here, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great weekend.